185,000 soldiers went to sleep outside the walls of Jerusalem. Not one of them woke up. No battle, no weapons, no warning. Just silence, and then death. All of them in a single night by a single being. And this was not the first time he had appeared. He walked through Egypt on the night of the Passover. He stood over Jerusalem with a sword drawn in the days of King David. And on this night, he stepped into the camp of the most feared army on earth and ended it before sunrise. 3 appearances, each one worse than the last. Tonight, we go straight to the third one, the night the angel of the Lord did something no human army in history has ever accomplished in a single night, before or since. By 701 BC, the Assyrian Empire had already swallowed the northern kingdom of Israel whole. 10 tribes deported, scattered, erased from history. Now their king, Sennacherib, was outside Jerusalem, and he had already taken 46 fortified cities to get there. Judah's last city was surrounded, and Sennacherib did something crueler than sending his army in. He sent a voice. His name was the Rabshakeh, Sennacherib's chief field commander, and he stood outside the walls and delivered a speech in Hebrew, on purpose, loud enough for every man, woman, and child on that wall to understand every word. He did not just threaten them, he dismantled them, layer by layer. First, he destroyed their trust in allies. Egypt, he said, is a broken reed. Lean on it, and it will pierce your hand. Second, he twisted their own God against them, claiming Hezekiah's religious reforms had angered the Lord, not honored him. Third, he claimed divine authorization for himself, saying the Lord had personally told him to destroy Jerusalem. Fourth, he described, in graphic detail and at full volume, exactly what starvation under siege would do to their bodies. Fifth, he offered them false peace, borrowing the exact language of God's own promised blessings to disguise what was really surrender and exile. And sixth, the killing blow. He listed every nation whose gods had already failed to save them and asked Jerusalem what made them think they would be any different. The people on the wall said nothing. Hezekiah had given one command: do not answer him. So Judah stood in silence and absorbed 6 layers of psychological warfare from a man representing the most powerful empire on the planet. Then Sennacherib sent it again, this time in writing, a letter even more contemptuous than the speech. And Hezekiah did something no commentary can improve on. He walked into the temple, and he spread the letter out physically before the Lord. Not crumpled, not hidden, laid flat, as if to say, this insult was addressed to me, but it was aimed at you. This is yours to answer. And then he prayed. He didn't ask to be saved. He asked God to be vindicated. Deliver us, he said, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you, Lord, are God, you alone. He turned his own survival into a question of God's reputation. God did not answer Hezekiah directly. He answered through the prophet Isaiah, and he addressed Sennacherib as if the king were standing in the room. I know where you stay and when you come and go, and how you rage against me. He had been watching every camp pitched, every threat shouted, every blasphemy spoken. And then came the sentence. He will not enter this city. By the way that he came, he will return. I will defend this city and save it. The prophecy was delivered. That same night, not weeks later, not after a drawn-out siege, that night, the angel of the Lord went out. One verb, no battle scene, no weapons described, no drawn-out sequence. Scripture states it and moves on, almost too quickly for what it's describing. And put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, There were all the dead bodies. That's it. That is the entire written account of the single deadliest night any army has ever suffered in recorded history. For comparison, the Allied invasion force at D-Day was around 156,000 men. Both sides combined at Gettysburg numbered roughly 165,000. One being killed more soldiers in one night than the largest amphibious invasion in human history deployed in an entire day, and did it without a single visible weapon. This is the third appearance. The first was in Egypt, the night of the Passover, when the angel moved through the land and every firstborn son died, except in the homes marked by the blood of the Lamb on the doorpost. The second was in the days of David, when a plague struck Israel and 70,000 died in 3 days, until David looked up and saw the angel standing between heaven and earth, sword drawn over Jerusalem, and God said one word, "Enough." The third is this night. Firstborn sons uncounted but devastating. 70,000 under David, 185,000 under Sennacherib, each appearance larger than the last, and every single time the destruction has a boundary. It stops exactly where God says stop. And who is this angel? In the book of Joshua, a figure appears before the conquest of Jericho, sword drawn, standing in the road. Joshua asks him directly, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" And the figure answers, "Neither. I am the commander of the army of the Lord." Joshua falls down and worships him, and unlike every other angel in Scripture, this one does not stop him. He simply says, "Take off your sandals. The ground you are standing on is holy." The same words spoken to Moses at the burning bush. Sennacherib went home. And here is the detail that should stop you cold. He was the greatest propagandist of the ancient world, a king who carved every single victory into palace walls in stone. He commissioned an entire room in his palace dedicated to the siege of one city he did conquer. He never once, not in a single line of any inscription ever found, claimed to have taken Jerusalem. The lie would have been too large. Too many families in his own capital knew exactly how many men marched out and never came home. 20 years later, Sennacherib walked into the temple of his own god to worship. He knelt down, and his own sons walked in behind him and killed him with the sword, in the one place he believed he was safest, worshiping the God who could not save him, 20 years to the letter after the prophet had said it would happen exactly this way. So here is what this leaves us with. An empire that carved its own cruelty into stone for the world to remember was erased in a single night by a being who left no weapon, no mark, no trace, nothing but bodies and silence. The most documented, most feared military machine on earth, undone without a single recorded blow. If that is what happened the last time a king stood outside those walls and mocked the God of Israel to his face, the real question is this: what does it mean that Scripture describes this being as still active, still under orders, and never once retired? And if he is, where do you think he's standing right now?